Hi everyone, Lisa O'Neill here. Today's blog is about being hopeless and hopeful. So I have to admit, for the first time ever, I have recently experienced hopelessness. As a person with positivity in my top 3 Gallup strengths, this was a very new thing for me. For the first time, I have experienced despair. The word despair comes from the Latin word desperare, meaning to be without hope. Ironically, the word hope means a feeling of expectation and desire for a particular thing to happen. Well, not much has been happening lately. Actually, a lot's been happening, but just not the stuff that lights me up. There's been no events, no conferences, no venues filled with eager humans ready to learn or share something interesting. For the past 18 months, I have become a wee bit worn down. The stops, the starts, the restrictions, the boring new rules of life. All of this has started to erode my normal mindset, and I could feel myself starting to give up. I had to do something. Now, I know that action keeps the darkness away, so I planned a meeting for one. The agenda was simple. I needed to decide what I was going to do. I was definitely not going to let circumstances dilute my potential. This is not who I am. I refuse to be a victim of circumstance. A quote from Maya Angelou came to mind. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. I love that. The outcome of my meeting was I decided to launch a cluster. It was a me cluster. I was going to create the learning that I needed. What I knew that I desperately needed to hear was, it's all good. There's so much to be hopeful about. The market was me, and the method was a 3-step process facilitated by yours truly. In the cluster model, there are 3 intersections. There is problems, preferences, and perspective. So the intersection of message and market is your problems, the intersection of market and method is the preferences, and the intersection of message and method is perspective. I love these distinctions. They often make clusters way more thorough and more relevant than if they are ignored. This cluster focuses on my problems, the limits, the lockdowns, the boring new processes involved in every single thing that we now do. The largest problem being the current feeling of despair and hopelessness. So a reframe was required. My preferences haven't changed. I love the power of choice. I love the agency to choose. I choose being with people. I choose courage over fear. I choose hopeful over hopeless. And then I moved into perspective. How I choose to look at things. I had sat on the floor with my despair. I didn't enjoy it. I looked reality in the eye and lost interest. The only thing left to do was to go up, to look up, to lift my head into the future. So here's what I know. The world is returning to a new abnormal. We've survived 100% of the hard stuff that's happened. That is a wonderful statistic that shows we have a very good chance of surviving anything else hard that's going to come our way. The world is reopening. Concert tours are being released. Planes are starting to fly. Processes are being put in place so we can get some of our previous freedoms back. Life will not go back to normal. It will be different. The human race has been through disruption before. It will go through disruption again, and it will be fine. We will create new solutions. It's what humans do. It's what thought leaders do. And then I realised there was a P missing. I had another P to add to my cluster. Problems, preferences and perspective. Oh, and patience. Yep, patience is what is required. Now, patience is not my strongest suit. If patience could be tested, I think I would be negative. But I will wait. I will not be passive, and I will remind myself every day of what's possible, what I can control, and I will always look up.